Good morning. Welcome back to my channel where today I'm going to attempt to predict the game week 5 fixtures of the 2019-2020 Premier League season. The international break is over. Hallelujah! Hallelujah! Absolutely hate international breaks. Don't know if anyone else is like me, but I absolutely hate them. So, with that being said, let's go back to how I did in game week 4. Now, I predicted Southampton 1, Manchester United 1. That was absolutely perfect as a 1-1 draw between these two. Chelsea, Sheffield United, I went for a 2-0 win to Chelsea. It was a 2-2 draw. Crystal Palace, Aston Villa, I went for a 1-0 win to Aston Villa. It was a 1-0 win to Crystal Palace. Leicester City against Bournemouth, I went for a 2-0 win to Leicester City. It was 3-1 to Leicester City. Manchester City against Brighton, I went for a 3-0 win to Manchester City. It was a 4-0 win to Manchester City. Newcastle United against Watford, I went for a 1-1 draw. In that one, it was a 1-1 draw. West Ham against Norwich, I went for a 3-2 win to West Ham. It was a 2-0 win to West Ham. Burnley Liverpool, I went for a 3-1 win to Liverpool. It was 3-0. And then the last two games, I got both of them wrong. I went for a 1-1 draw between Everton and Wolves. It was a 3-2 win to Everton. And then Arsenal Tottenham, I went for a 2-1 win to Arsenal. It was a 2-2 draw. So it was a pretty good week. So let's see how I can do this week. So we've got some very good games coming up, and let's just say that some of the one that stands out for me at the moment is Manchester United against Leicester City. Both of these sides looking like they could be in potential top 4, top 6 contention this season. So I'll go through the games. That is also my game of the week, also Manchester United, Leicester City. So I will come to that one. So the games we have this week are as follows. Liverpool against Newcastle United. Brighton against Burnley. Manchester United against Leicester City. Sheffield United against Southampton. Tottenham against Crystal Palace. Wolves against Chelsea. Norwich City against Manchester City. Bournemouth against Everton. Watford against Arsenal. And Aston Villa against West Ham. So let's kick things off with Liverpool against Newcastle. Now the last 5 games between these sides have resulted in 3 wins to Liverpool, 2 draws, and the last game between the sides was a 4-0 win to Liverpool at Anfield. Liverpool, obviously last time out they were 3-0 winners over Burnley in a game where it has to be said that was probably Liverpool's easiest afternoon at Turf Moor for a long, long time. I know Burnley played very, very well in the first half. You know, they did give Liverpool a few problems early doors. Obviously, Chris Wood getting in a shot where Adrian saved. And then obviously, you know, Virgil van Dijk heading crosses away. So, you know, Burnley did everything they could to score against Liverpool. But the fact was that, you know, I think once Trent Alexander-Arnold's cross goes off Chris Wood and goes over Nick Pope, you know that after that, you know, Liverpool can, you know, play their football and, you know, got the 2 quick goals, and then it was mainly game over after that. And then obviously, you know, Tarkowski does have a chance after that to score, but he doesn't connect very well. Obviously, Chris Wood gets the ball into the box there. This is very, very interesting. And then obviously Firmino does get the 3rd, and he's now got 50 goals in the Premier League, so the highest scoring Brazilian so far this season. Looking ahead to this game, I think we will see some rotation. And by that I mean I think we'll see players like Xherdan Shaqiri. I think we'll see Divock Origi. I think we may see James Milner. I do think we'll see Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Maybe Adam Lallana. Considering that Liverpool now have 3 games this week, they have Newcastle United, they have Napoli on Wednesday, and then they have Chelsea next Sunday. So very, very busy week for Liverpool. So I reckon that we'll see some rotation. But it'll be interesting to see what kind of team he does play. But I do think that maybe one of the front three might get rested. That's what I'm thinking. Newcastle United, obviously last time out it was a 1-1 draw against Watford. They conceded very early on, and obviously Fabian Schär gets the equaliser. And then they'll wonder how they didn't win that game. They had so many chances in that game to bury Watford, but wasn't to be. And it'll be interesting to see how well they can do, because obviously the last time they were away from home they did beat Tottenham. So obviously going to Anfield, they'll obviously want to try and do the same again, be very tight at the back, and then obviously hit Liverpool on the counter-attack. But they'll have to do something that they have never done before in the Premier League era, and that is win at Anfield. They have never won at Anfield in the Premier League era. So it'll be very, very interesting to see what will happen in this one. So far as a score prediction goes, I think if Liverpool get the early goal, then I think the floodgates will open, and then obviously, if they can get into a 2-0 lead or something like that, then I think Liverpool will win this comfortably. So I'm going to go for a 3-0 win to Liverpool for this one. Brighton against Burnley. Now, they've only played 4 times, these teams, and Brighton have never beaten Burnley, and there's been 2 draws and 2 wins for Burnley, and the last game between the sides was a 3-1 win to Burnley at the Amex, and this is where this game is being played. Brighton obviously losing 4-0 to Manchester City. At least they managed to keep the score down. I won't deny that. They did very, very well to keep the score down. They did have their chances though. They did have their chances, and the fact is that they actually did have their chances at the Etihad, and they could have easily got a couple of goals that day. So it'd be very interesting to see how they do. Obviously, coming back in front of their home fans. The fans will be expectant for them to get a win, because obviously their home form really let them down last season. What was so good about them in their first season as well was their home form. So very, very tricky game, this one, I think. Like I said, Burnley, obviously they were obviously 3-0 losers to Liverpool the last time. But they did have the chances. Obviously, Tarkowski having a header that you would expect them to do better. So if that goes in, it's a definitely a different game. Chris Wood, obviously, he had a bit of an eventful game. Obviously, having a shot saved by Adrian, and then obviously, the own goal. So, as far as this game goes, I cannot separate them, and the reason is that I think these two will probably be near or thereabouts by the end of the season. So in that aspect, I can't separate them. Going for a score draw on this one. I'm going for a 1-1 draw between Brighton and Burnley. Manchester United against Leicester City. Now, this is my game of the weekend. Pretty simple, really. Both of these sides are definitely in top 4 even aspirations for this game as well. The last 5 between the sides have resulted in Manchester United winning 4. There's been 1 draw, and the last game between the sides was a 2-1 win to Manchester United, where everyone probably remembers that Luke Shaw scored the winner that day. And I think Paul Pogba scored from the penalty spot, if I remember rightly. And then obviously Jamie Vardy scored for Leicester City. Manchester United, the stats do not lie. 3 wins in 16 games for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. That is not good enough. When you think that they played really well at Southampton the first half, and then the second half they just completely capitulated again. And the thing is that if you give Vestergaard that amount of space for him to equalise, then he is going to equalise. And in my honest opinion, I actually think that Manchester United this season have only had one good second half performance, and that was against Chelsea where they scored 3 goals. So they seem to be a first half team at this present moment in time, and I think that is a bit of a concern. The fans are definitely restless. There's definitely a minority, at least, that want Solskjaer gone. I won't lie. I've seen a lot of tweets this week, especially. So it's not a happy fan base, it has to be said. It's not a happy fan base. Leicester City obviously coming off a 3-1 win over Bournemouth. Very, very good performance from Jamie Vardy. He looks like he's back to his best, doesn't he? 2 goals and assists the last game. And he looks like he's going to be very, very pivotal for Leicester City this season. Brendan Rodgers, obviously, he has won at Old Trafford before. The last time he did that, though, was for Liverpool in a 3-0 win over Manchester United in the 2013-2014 season. So he knows he can try and win at Old Trafford. How do I see this one going? I cannot separate these two because I think this game is so pivotal, and obviously Harry Maguire is coming up against his former club, and obviously he will be coming up against the centre back that has obviously replaced him in Kagler Siyunku, who has looked very, very good, not out of place at all. So looks like he's going to be good for Leicester City. So I can't separate them. Daniel James has started really well for Manchester United this season so far as well. 4 goals in 2 games, or 3 goals. I think it's either that. But I think looking back on this game, I cannot separate them. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw between Manchester United and Leicester City. Sheffield United against Southampton. Now these two have only met 4 times, and this is their first meeting since the 23rd of March 1994 was their last meeting. So Sheffield United and Southampton, there's been 1 win to Sheffield United, 1 draw, and 2 wins to Southampton. And the last game, obviously, like I said, between the sides in the top flight was a 0-0 draw way back in 1994, March the 26th. Sheffield United, everyone will have said their first half performance against Chelsea was like a championship team, but how well they did when they came out in that second half. They were absolutely superb in that second half, and they're going to be very, very good. It's a very, very good point away from home as well. They've started really well this season, Sheffield United. 5 points from 4 games. Not a bad start at all. Not a bad start. Obviously, a win, 2 draws, and a defeat. It's not a bad start at all. And then obviously, Enda Stevens getting the goal at Stamford Bridge. So their fans will be expectant to. They're on good form, Sheffield United. They're on very, very good form, and it was a very, very good point that they got at Stamford Bridge. So their fans will definitely be expectant going back to Bramall Lane. Obviously, the last time out they lost 2-1 to Leicester City. So I think this game will probably be more to their taste, but it'll be very interesting to see what happens in this one. Southampton, obviously coming off the back of a 1-1 draw against Manchester United. Obviously, they will be without Kevin Danso, though. He did get sent off very late on against Manchester United, so it'll be very, very interesting. It'll be very interesting to see what will happen in this one. Obviously, Vestergaard was superb in that game. Obviously, gets the equaliser. And he's a man mountain, isn't he? 6'5", big man mountain. But Southampton definitely goals from their strikers. Obviously, Danny Ings has obviously got one. Che Adams, he will get goals as soon as he can, but it is proving a bit difficult for him to get goals. As far as this game goes, and it obviously is their first top flight meeting since the 26th of March 1994. I can't separate them. I really cannot separate them. I think it's going to be a very, very close game between these two. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Yeah. So I'm going for 3 1-1 draws in a row. So we'll see what happens in that one. But I just cannot separate it. And like I said, I do think that Sheffield United and Southampton will be there or thereabouts by the end of the season as well. So it'll be very, very interesting to see what will happen. But for me, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw with Southampton. The next game I'm going to preview is Tottenham against Crystal Palace. Now, the last 5 games between the sides, 5 wins to Tottenham Hotspur. And the last game was a 2-0 win to Tottenham against Crystal Palace at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Now, if people remember, this was the first game at the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Obviously, Tottenham won 2-0 that day as well. So they will look at the Arsenal game as 2 points dropped or 1 point gained. For the first half performance, 2 points dropped. Second half, a point gained because Arsenal were much better in the second half. And do you know, I think the way they played in the first half, Tottenham and Arsenal, was very, very good. Obviously, they got the 2-0 lead. Christian Eriksen obviously scoring. And then obviously Harry Kane from the penalty spot as well. He seems to be doing well for England as well. So he started the season very, very well. Has to be said though that the way they lost it in the second half was very bad. They lost the lead, but if you're Tottenham, you're going into that first half thinking, get to half-time, get half-time with 2-0, everything's fine. But the fact that they let Arsenal score right bang on half-time, that will have given Arsenal the ascendancy to go on. And then, I think it was a very, very close game. They're always very good games, the North London derbies, though. They really, really are. And this one was no exception. Obviously, Christian Eriksen is staying, which is a very good plus point. We do know he wants to leave. We can see definitely he wants to leave, but he will stay and fight for his place. So I would expect him to start probably more games now for Tottenham. More rumblings on about Pochettino, though. He doesn't look happy. So it'll be interesting to see how long he lasts at Tottenham. I think this could potentially be his last season, but we shall see. Crystal Palace, obviously 2 wins in a row against Manchester United and Aston Villa. I think they were very lucky to get the win. Obviously, I will come to Villa later on. But Jordan Ayew, he started the season well. 2 goals in his last 2 games. Obviously at Old Trafford, and then obviously scoring the winner against Aston Villa. So, London derby, this one. Tottenham won the last 5. Make that 6 out of 6. I'm going for a Tottenham win. Tottenham 2, Crystal Palace 0. Wolves against Chelsea now. The last 5 between these two have been 2 wins to Wolves, a draw, and 2 wins to Chelsea. So it's quite evenly matched, for sure. And the last game between these sides was a 2-1 win to Wolves at Molineux. Wolves will be, of course, without Willy Bolly. He was sent off at Goodison last time out. So it'll be very interesting to see who they bring in at the back. Wolves, they played okay at Goodison. Pretty unlucky to lose out, but you don't concede in the very first minute. That's the first thing you do. You don't do. But they did equalise very, very quickly on, and there was one of those good games where Everton take the lead and then Wolves equalise, and then Everton take the lead again and Wolves equalise, and then obviously Everton scored the winner as well. So it's a shame that Willy Wally got sent off, but Raul Jimenez, he seems to have started the season well as well. So I think it's a good test for Wolves. I know they've started slowly, but they are starting to get to grips with the Premier League this season, and I think it is only a matter of time before I think they get a win. Chelsea, obviously, 2-0 up against Sheffield United and absolutely cruising at half time, and then what happens? Sheffield United score straight after the restart, and then Chelsea were just very, very poor. I mean, Sheffield United could have actually won that game. Defensively, Chelsea look all over the place at the moment. They really, really do. I think once Rudiger comes back in, I don't know if he's back this weekend, but I can see Chelsea's back line being Rudiger and Andreas Christensen, because I think Kurt Zouma, something about him, he just doesn't look right at the moment, and I think Chelsea defensively don't look right either. So for me, that's what kind of worries me about Chelsea is defensively. Tammy Abraham obviously scoring 2 goals. It's good to see him scoring. So it's very, very good to see him scoring. As far as this game goes, I said it's only a matter of time before Wolves win. I'm actually thinking that this might be the game. They do seem to do well against the top 6, don't they? So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Wolverhampton Wanderers. I do think they will just sneak this one. It'll be a very, very close game between these two. And I'm going for a 2-1 win to Wolverhampton Wanderers. Norwich City against Manchester City. Now, the last 5 between these two have resulted in 1 win to Norwich, 2 draws and 2 wins to Manchester City. Because obviously Norwich City's last win against Manchester City was at the Etihad. So, when was their last win against Norwich? Yeah, a long, long time ago. A long, long time ago. Norwich City. They were pretty poor against West Ham, it has to be said. Didn't play very, very well, but it's one of those games where, away from home, they do have to, play attacking. And I like what Daniel Farke's doing at Norwich. I really, really do. And I think the fact is that Norwich are playing very, very well. They've started the season very, very well. Timu Pukki especially, obviously didn't score the last time out at West Ham. However, he did score for his national team against Finland, against Italy. So he started the season very, very well. So, and obviously he is coming up against Manchester City. So this will be a very, very interesting game. Manchester City obviously 4-0 winners over Brighton the last time out. But the big concern is Laporte for sure. I said this in my Q&A yesterday that Laporte injury will be pivotal, I think, for Manchester City. How pivotal, I don't know. He is probably their best centre-back as well, so it'd be interesting to see what would happen. As far as this game goes, it has to be said that the last time they met was a 0-0 draw. And this was way back in 2015. But I can't see past Manchester City. However, I do see Norwich scoring, and I do see Pukki maybe scoring again. I was to and froing between this game because obviously, Norwich like to score goals, they like to concede goals. Manchester City like to score, and they have been conceding a few lately as well. So I'm going to go for an away win here. I'm going for a 3-1 win to Manchester City. Now, if you want goals, you want goals in this one. Bournemouth against Everton. Now, the last 5 between these sides have resulted in 1 win to Bournemouth, 1 draw, and 3 wins to Everton. and the last game was a 2-2 draw at Bournemouth. And now, like I said, if you want goals between Everton and Bournemouth, wow, the last, let's have a wee look. So the last 7 games, this is the follows: Everton 2, Bournemouth 0. Bournemouth 2, Everton 2. That was the last game at the Vitality. Bournemouth 2, Everton 1. Everton 2, Bournemouth 1. Everton 6, Bournemouth 3. Everton 2, Bournemouth 1, Everton 0. Everton 2, Bournemouth 1. Bournemouth 0, Everton 2. Bournemouth 3, Everton 3. So there's always goals between these two. Always goals between these two. Bournemouth obviously losing 3-1 to Leicester City wasn't very, very good. But Callum Wilson got on the score sheet, so he's now started scoring. So hopefully he'll start scoring more as the season goes on. Coming up against Everton side who won 3-2 against Wolves, and it has to be said that Alex Iwobi scored. Richarlison, he scored 2. I think he scored 2 that day. So they've it was a very, very good win. But the one thing they seem to be doing at the moment is conceding goals, and Bournemouth like to score goals at the Vitality, and don't be surprised if there's more goals in this game, because Bournemouth Everton have lots of goals between the sides. And I'm actually going to go for another Desmond. I'm going for another 2-2 draw between Bournemouth and Everton. Watford against Arsenal. Now, the last time these two met was a 1-0 win to Arsenal. But actually, the last 5 are quite interesting going, actually. So there's been 2 wins to Watford and there's been 3 wins to Arsenal. Now, Watford, the big story of the weekend, as follows, was definitely the sacking of Javi Garcia and then the reappointing of Kike Sanchez Flores. Now, obviously, I did a wee video for that one as well. Obviously, have a wee look. It was incredible. How they can basically announce it after an England game, that is another thing. I would also say this. I think it's wrong to sack a manager 4 games into a season. Yes, Frank de Boer got sacked after being Crystal Palace manager for 4 games, 77 days. And obviously, Crystal Palace didn't score a goal. They did not score a goal that day. Didn't score goals under Frank de Boer. So I think that was why he was sacked. Javi Garcia did so well at Watford last season. Really, really did. I think they really overachieved last season. Obviously got to a cup final. Yes, they lost 6-0 to Manchester City, but there's no disgrace in losing to Manchester City. Watford getting rid of Garcia now is absolutely ridiculous. And I will talk about this on the Sam Radio Football Show later on. I just think it's ridiculous that you sack a manager and then reappoint Kike Sanchez Flores, who they got rid of in 2016. Now, what? Where is the? I don't understand why they brought him back. Surely they're just saying, oh, Garcia, he can go, and we made a mistake. So, Kike Sanchez Flores is back. Will the new manager bounce help them this weekend against Arsenal? Who knows? Arsenal obviously coming off the back of a 2-2 against Tottenham. Better team in that second half. Obviously, Guendouzi picks out Aubameyang to get the 2-2. And then obviously they've allowed Mkhitaryan to go on loan to Roma. Granit Xhaka will be taking a month off, I believe, as well. So it'll be interesting to see if he will play in this game. As far as this game goes, all the uncertainty over Watford, obviously new manager bounce can be pivotal as well, but I just don't see it happening this weekend. I think Arsenal will be too comfortable for Watford, and I think if the front three play, can definitely see a couple of goals for Arsenal. So I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to Arsenal. And now to round things off for this game week is Aston Villa against West Ham. Now the last time these two met was a 1-1 draw on Boxing Day 2015, and there's been 1-1 to Aston Villa, 2 draws, and 2 wins to West Ham in the last 5 meetings as well. Oh my goodness, Aston Villa. I mean, to firstly disallow the goal for Henri Lansbury, and then to basically say that Grealish has dived is absolutely ridiculous. So they'll feel hard done by for going into the international break with a 1-0 defeat to Crystal Palace, because they were very, very good at Crystal Palace. Very unlucky not to get anything either. Obviously, they will be without Trezeguet. He was sent off for 2 bookings. So, you know, back in front of their home fans, and obviously the last time they played at Villa Park, they beat Everton 2-0. So it'll be very interesting to see what would happen in this one. West Ham, obviously coming off the back of a 2-0 win over Norwich. Haller seems to have started like a house on fire. He seems to be firing all cylinders at the moment, and West Ham may have got their striker curse away now. He seems to be scoring a wee bit now, Haller. So this is going to be a very interesting game. As far as this game goes, I'm going to go for a home win, just because Aston Villa seem to have that home bounce at the moment. West Ham are not very good away. You don't know where you're going to get for West Ham away. 1 week they're good, and then 1 week they're bad. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to West Ham. So that is my predictions for game week 5. I will quickly go through my predictions again. So Liverpool 3, Newcastle 0, Brighton 1, Burnley 1, Manchester United 1, Leicester City 1, Sheffield United 1, Sheffield United 1, Southampton 1, Tottenham 2, Crystal Palace 0, Wolves 2, Chelsea 1, Norwich City 1, Manchester City 3, Bournemouth 2, Everton 2, Watford 0, Arsenal 2, and Aston Villa 2, West Ham 1. Now, I have forgotten to say that Liverpool-Newcastle is a 12:30 kickoff on BT Sport on Saturday lunchtime, and then Norwich City against Manchester City is a 5:30 kickoff live on Sky Sports, and then Super Sunday we have Bournemouth against Everton, Watford against Arsenal. So they are the Super Sunday, and then Aston Villa West Ham is Monday night football as well. So that is it. That is my predictions for game week 5. And we'll see what happens. And if any of you are new to this channel, then please hit that like button, please hit that subscribe button, and obviously hit that bell for the notifications, so anytime I upload any videos you will get it very, very quickly. And also the fact is that I will be starting Champions League predictions as well, so I'm looking forward to that. As well. And for most of you who don't know, I am up against Mr. Exclusive. I will have his YouTube in the comment section as well, in the description as well. So yes, so let's see what happens on game week 5. Good luck to your teams for the weekend, and we shall see what happens. But anyway, I'll be back tomorrow with my SPFL predictions for game week 5. But for now, enjoy the football. Hope your teams do alright for you, and I'll be with you back with another video very, very soon. Take care everyone. Bye bye for now.